This is Anything But, the politics-free podcast where you can come for a short time each week to get away from the madness of the world while we carry on as though nothing important or noteworthy is happening at all. We're going to have some silly conversation, no game, because this is a between weeks episode, a little shorter. I'm Heather.
And I'm Ryan.
Welcome to our bubble.
Welcome to our bubble.
Do you remember what it was you wanted to tell me?
I do.
Great, because I forgot mine already. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I very rarely ever get sick. Like, I get maybe like a mild cold once a year, maybe, if that. Maybe a sore throat here and there, but like nothing debilitating where I'd like have to stay home because I'm like severely sick, right? So I get the flu maybe like once every 3 to 4 years.
Nice.
I think the last time I got the flu was about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was on Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
And it was terrible because, so I make Thanksgiving dinner, typically. I have been, I think, for almost the last 10 years, I want to say. I've been doing Thanksgiving every year.
Very
cool.
Mom
and Dad come over, whatever, no big deal. Any hoodle. I was scheduled to work Thursday for double time and a half and Friday for double time because those are typically our days off for work. So I was like, I can make this happen. I could still do like dinner and work because usually I have like Wednesday night to prep and I cook all day Thursday, yada, yada, any hoodle. So Thursday morning rolls around and I'm just like sick as hell. And so I was like, I got to go to work. So like I should have stayed home, but since I didn't want to like disappoint anybody, so like I showed up to work and my foreman took one look at me and he goes, "Ryan, are you sick?" And I was like, "Yes." And he's like, "You look pale as fuck." He's like, "Just go home. Don't even worry about it." So I was like, went home. And so Rebecca, who doesn't do any cooking really, well, I mean, she cooks some, but she doesn't cook like me, had to do all the prep, and I laid in the kitchen floor and directed her on what to do while writhing in pain. Any rate, back in the day, again, I'm not trying to like brag here or anything, but I'm kind of bragging about myself. And I will knock on some wood real quick. Anywho, so the school nurse, growing up, actually had me help her in the infirmary because of how rarely I got sick. And she handpicked me to help her after hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And she said, yeah, she's like, I picked you because you don't get sick as often as the other students. And when you do get sick, you get over it really fast. And I really need someone here to help me.
Wow.
So I was like, wow, like I had no idea this woman felt this way about me because as far as I knew, I was a shithead and not many of the staff members there liked me a lot.
You're one of those constantly getting into trouble people.
Yes. But at any rate, so all that said, I really feel like my immune system needs to be studied.
Are you sure you want to go through that? I don't know if you want to go through that. Have you seen X-Men? Look what they did to Wolverine.
But look, wouldn't that be a happy accident? Like, I all of a sudden have the powers of Wolverine because they were studying my immune system, and now all of a sudden, shring, shring, cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, and then it heals back up. I get a burn on my neck, and bam, it heals up. I'm good to go. Break my ankle.
Was that a request?
Although none of those have to do with the immune system.
True. All right, well, I was going to say, because I was sitting here getting all jealous, like, why didn't she pick me? I wasn't sick all that often. And then I realized every month, like clockwork, I was out because of my period. So that probably took me right off that list.
Heather, I got picked out of a school of 200 students. 1 in 200, Heather.
Nicely done.
I'm special.
You're so cool. I still can't remember what it was I was going to say. What were we talking about right before we hit record?
I don't know.
All right, well, let's get ourselves one more conversation topic here. I don't know what. I'm going to go resort to this app again.
Okay.
I should have been prepared, and I'm sorry that I wasn't.
Terrible, Heather. Terrible. Unforgivable.
Ooh, I was going to Google something. What was it? Oh, let's Google this. Let's Google the most important question ever asked and then answer that question if it's an interesting question.
Okay.
The most important question ever asked. Why? Why is the most important question you could ever ask? And like the subtitle says, it's the one question that you should never stop asking. If we never ask why, then I could just stop writing this right now and nobody would even care. But the why gives us answers that continually move us forward. That is from the article, What is the Most Important Question You Can Ever Ask? From Medium.com, The Ascent.
Obviously, the person who stated this has never had children. Or never had to care for children.
It's so cliche, but they actually do it, and you don't realize until you have them that the whys go on forever. It's like right around the age of 3, maybe 4, where it really gets heavy with the whys. And like you just start making shit up because you don't know, but you need them to stop.
Yes.
And then I weirdly and randomly found out that if I just honestly was like, honey, I don't know, she would drop it.
Not me. Then they'd be like, why? Because I'm not that fucking smart, okay? I don't know all the answers to your questions, sweetheart.
Well, that was uneventful. I mean, I thought it was going to be a really interesting question.
Why?
There you go, applying what you learned. Nice job. I don't want to tell you why. How about that?
It's not very nice of you.
All right, let's Google one more thing and then call it a day. Ryan, what should we Google?
If there was somebody on the side of the road that looked like they needed help, would you pull over and help them?
Well, that depends. I'm not Googling that, but I'll answer the question.
It was a thought that just popped in my head, Heather.
Well, let me tell you a story. And I did something that a lot of people might not approve of. I did pick up a hitchhiker last year. I drove that person 40 miles and dropped them off at a bus station, and I actually paid them a ticket to Cleveland.
Heather, that was very nice of you.
It was a small woman. If it had been a man, I would not have stopped.
Okay.
I'm being honest.
All right, that's fine. That's fair.
I drove past her initially, and when I looked in the rearview mirror, she was so dejected and tiny that I was like, I mean, if she tries anything, I could probably take her. Fine, I'll give her a ride. So she was going to Cleveland. I was going to Erie. So initially I said, I'll take you as far as Erie.
Mm-hmm.
But then once we got in there, I was like, well, I mean, let's just see how much a ticket to Cleveland is. I don't want her to walk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was only like $50. I was like, fine, here, have fun. And then I said goodbye, and I never saw her again.
Yeah.
Because it was the holidays. It was the holiday season, and I get extra super goodwill toward humans during the Christmas holiday.
As do most people.
Yeah, so I was walking by this elderly woman in a snowstorm with the wrong shoes on. I mean, like exposed ankles. I was like, what is this woman doing? I was actually going the opposite direction. I turned back around and was like, do you need a ride somewhere? And she was going actually quite nearby. It was like maybe a mile or two away.
Yeah.
It was a grocery store. And I needed to get some groceries anyway. I said, fine, I'll take you to the grocery store. So I took her, and then I drove her back to her house. So in both of these instances, I was dealing with an individual that if they were going to get unruly on me, I could physically come out the victor.
Right.
But if I'm being totally honest, I've driven by numerous male people, like I drove by an old guy, and he was dressed kind of grubby, and it was pouring rain, and he like miserably stuck his thumb out, and I was like, I can't, you're a man, I'm not stopping for you, you know? So as much as I probably felt in my heart that it would have been all right if I had given him a ride, it's not a risk I'm willing to take.
You know how many times I've hitchhiked in my life, Heath?
How many?
All pretty much younger than 10 years old. So many. Anytime I rode my bicycle into town from home, I was too lazy to ride back because there was a giant hill that I had to go up.
Yeah, that's right.
And I would just stick my thumb out and hitchhike many times by myself, many times with friends. But there was always somebody in a truck that's like, hop on in, kid. I'll take you home. And took me right home.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember ever hitchhiking. Oh, I accidentally picked up some hitchhikers one time because I thought they were people I knew. It was these 4 teenage boys. I was probably in my early 20s at the time. And I thought they were from school. I thought they were from the school.
Yeah.
But I pulled over. It was already dark at night, and they were going somewhere that was about 20 miles away, walking at night. And I pulled over, and they came up to the car, and I went, oh, I do not know these boys at all. Don't know any of them. But I was in this position where I was like, I just pulled over for them. I'm not going to drive off now and be like, oh, actually, I don't know you. Bye. So I felt like that was... So I gave them a ride into town, and as they're getting in, I was like, do not steal anything from me. You are not who I thought you were, okay?
Oh, you did say that to them?
I did say that to them. They were like, okay, fine. So they didn't steal anything or do anything mean. They just needed a ride. So, but I would never have stopped if I had thought, I really thought that was a group of people that I knew.
Because, so the reason I ask is, I actually pulled over recently for somebody. This was a few months ago, but I was coming home from work and there's this, the main freeway that I take to get from Portland to Vancouver, then has an exit, which then turns to an on-ramp to a highway that I take pretty much the rest of the way home. Anyways, this on-ramp is kind of secluded and hidden. You can only get to this on-ramp from going northbound to the westbound. It's weird. This whole kind of intersection of highways is...
It's like all these weird clovers and turnings, and you've got to really make sure you're in the right lane or you're screwed.
And it's like... There's no other exits nearby, so, like, let's say I pass these people, and I thought some shady shit was going on down there. Like, let's say I was a cop, right? And I go around, and I see some shady shit going down in this area. In order to get back, I would have to get back onto the southbound, go all the way back into Oregon, turn around, and then come back in order to get back to this location. So by the time I got there, everybody could be gone. Anywho, that's how kind of secluded this little area is. Anyway, so I was coming and it's a little clover leaf, right? So I'm coming around this bend and I see this nicer like SUV. It was like a Mercedes of some kind, like pearl white. And this nicely dressed gentleman was outside of it trying to flag people down. And so I was like, what's this guy going to do to me, right? So I pull over. And he runs up, he's like, oh, thank you so much. He's like, oh, we just ran out of gas. You know, I was like, hey, no problem, dude. I was like, I got a gas can in the back. I'll run and go grab you some gas. Hold on. He's like, oh, wait. He's like, here. He starts pulling off his gold ring. He's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. He hands me his ring and I'm like sitting there holding his ring like, what the fuck is going on right now? And he starts telling me that he's with his family in this car and they're moving from Tacoma to Houston, or they're trying to get home to Houston, and they were just in Tacoma. And so he's going on about the story and like how he lost his wallet got stolen up in Tacoma, and so he's got no money on him. He's like, he swears up and down, like if I give him $500, he'll pay me back as soon as he gets back to Houston. And like, I'm looking at this ring, I'm like, oh, this fucking ring kind of looks fake. And so I was like, listen, dude, like, I'll go get you some gas if you're out of gas, but that's like all I'm going to do for you. And so he starts pulling off like necklaces and his Rolex. And then he's like, if you give me $1,000, all this stuff is worth more than $1,000. And I was just like, dude, okay, here's your shit. I'm just going to leave. Like, so I left, right? Mm-hmm. Like it just became shady. And as I was driving away, it occurred to me that there was a hole in his story too, because he told me that he was coming from Tacoma going to Houston. But he was getting off of the northbound freeway, which would be going towards Tacoma, and getting onto a westbound highway that would be going towards the west coast. The complete opposite direction. Both directions completely opposite of where he said he's trying to go. So I knew that this guy had to have been full of shit later, thinking about it. But I called highway patrol because they have like a non-emergency number. And I was like, hey, it was kind of weird. I don't know what, like, but it just seemed kind of shady. I explained the situation to him. He was trying to like sell me gold when I just offered to like get him gas. And they're like, actually, that's a scam that's going on right now.
Really?
And it's a huge scam in this area. Yes. And they will try to sell their gold, pass it off as real gold, but it's all fake. And so they're like, yeah, if you ever see those guys there again, call 911. We're looking for them.
Wow.
You know? And so I was like, yeah. So I was like, oh, shit. Okay. So anyway, I've been that kind of guy that has pulled over to help people.
You know what? I kind of misunderstood your question when you first asked it. And I have stopped and helped people that looked like they were having car trouble. I've done that a few times for sure.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I've stopped and they've said, no, I'm fine, someone's coming, and then I drive away. This one time, I got a flat tire, and the girls were in the car. They were much younger.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they were maybe 1 and 3 years old at the time. It was a super hot day, and so I just rolled down all the windows. I left them in their car seats, and I was right by the car, keeping an eye on them, of course. And I called Mike, and he was on his way. Mm-hmm. And this man pulled over to ask if I needed help. And I said, no, my husband's on the way. He's coming. And the guy said, I mean, I can give you a ride anyway. And I was like, no, my husband's coming and my kids are in the car. I'm not going to leave my kids here in the car. That's fine. And he was like, oh, are you sure? I was like, yep, pretty sure. Pretty sure, dude.
As you get back in the car and lock the door?
I did take a few steps back from his car. I was like, I'm not coming up anywhere near this car.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'll just keep you company till he gets here. I was like, this guy thinks I'm lying to him and that my husband's not about to show up here.
Yeah.
And I don't know what his intentions are, but I'm super creeped out by this dude.
Yeah, that's really freaking creepy.
Well, a benefit that I had was it's summertime when this happened, and it's very busy around here summertime, so there are cars constantly driving by.
Yeah.
I was like, thank God. And thank God where I pulled over, it was right by like a golf course, and there were people golfing. So I don't know what he was thinking, or I don't know whatever was his plan was. Maybe nothing nefarious. Maybe it was just super friendly.
Yeah.
But it creeped me out, and I kept a distance. And luckily, 5 or 10 minutes went by, and Mike showed up, and then he drove away. And it was just one of those weird experiences where I'm kind of glad that the end. I don't know. It just worked out well. It could have been nothing, but it really felt.
Yeah.
He was weird. He was a weird guy.
That sounds very weird. That sounds shady to me.
I'm glad to be alive today.
Excellent. I'm glad that you're alive today, Heather.
And you. Yay. Well, I guess that's all we've got for you today. Did we have any free advice to end with? I don't. Do you?
I don't. Really?
Great. Then here's my advice. Be careful out there.
Be careful out there.
And you don't always have to have advice. It's fine if you don't.
True that.
Goodbye. Stop before he can say chowsers.
Chowsers.
Stop. This is why I need to write things down. I think of great ideas all day long, just popping into my head like popcorn. And then I forget them all by the time I sit down here with you.
Wow. I have that effect on people.
You just make them.